Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very exciting video for you guys. I don't know if you saw, but Jacqueline read 3 of my favorite books.
This video is me reading 3 of Gwen's favorite books between last year and this year.
And I was shocked that she was doing that. Not only was I shocked that she was doing it and kept it from me, but like, I plan to do the same video, except for like, obviously I'm gonna be reading her favorites. So the books that I'm gonna be reading in today's vlog are these 3. I have The Sound of Gravel by Ruth Werner, and this is a nonfiction memoir about a woman who is recounting her childhood, and she was the 39th of her father's 42 children. They grew up on a farm in rural Mexico, and I don't know, she cried when she talked about this book. So she rated it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm just really excited because I don't read enough nonfiction, and I thought this is a good place to go ahead and pick up some nonfiction. The next book I'm going to be reading is the one that you probably all think about when you think about Jacqueline's favorite books, The Dream Daughter by Diana Chamberlain. This one is a historical fiction book about a woman that is widowed by the Vietnam War, receives news that her unborn baby girl has a heart defect, and she's devastated. It's 1970 and she is told that nothing can be done to help her child, but her brother-in-law, a physicist with a mysterious past, tells her that perhaps there is a way to save her baby. So there's time travel, it's historical fiction, not necessarily some of my favorite stuff, but I have heard that I will love this one. The last one I am going to pick up is like a new favorite of Jacqueline's, and that is The Roanoke Girls by Amy Engel. The book has been on my wish list for 3 years. Able to finally start using my library again, so I actually got both of these from the library. I am hoping that Jacqueline does not catch on that I am reading her favorite books, because she knows I hauled this and I plan to read it at some point, and she knows I have this one, but she doesn't know I have this one. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to fool her. I'm going to do my best, but yeah, I'm going to read these 3 books. I'm going to let you know what I think, and we'll see. Like, did she like the books that I read? You'll have to check out her video. I'll have it linked down below. And I'm going to be listening to some of these on Scribd. Hopefully I can do this fairly quickly. We shall see, but I'm going to start with The Sound of Gravel because she knows that I have this book anyway, so I might as well just go ahead and read it and tell her, and then like maybe she'll forget that I could possibly be reading some of her favorites. So friends, this is probably the messiest update you're gonna see today. I also requested Una Out of Order, and my hold lapsed at the library. So I'm gonna have to call them or contact them tomorrow and see if it's still available. But as an update, I'm still reading The Sound of Gravel by Ruth Werner. I'm actually making pretty good progress. I'm on page 190, but I haven't been reading. There have been days that I have read 0 pages, and that's just so unlike me. And I know moving forward into this weekend, I'm going out of town to visit Jacqueline, and I don't want to be reading any of these books. Like, she knows I'm reading this one, but she doesn't even know that I have these books, or like Una Out of Order if I get it, and I don't want her to know about this vlog. So I'm just here to share my update on The Sound of Gravel, since I am about halfway, or a little bit more than halfway. This is a really sad story, especially because I know it's nonfiction, because it's a memoir. Her stepdad, even though like in polygamous relationships, I guess legally it's not, her mother is not the guy's wife, but he molests her. He feels on her chest, he feels between her legs, and she's a young girl and she's telling him to stop, and he's not stopping. And then she tells her mother, and the mother talks to him, and then he still does it. I'm like, get a clue. Like, he's taking advantage of your young child. And it's just so sad because the mother is also feeling neglected by him, and like she's almost like starved for attention. And I don't know what direction it's gonna take in. I almost hope that she breaks away from this polygamist, like, I don't know, sect, because it's all in this, like, you know, one town that they all live, and then there was a time that they went away, but now they're like visiting again or something. I don't know. And then like her brothers and her sisters all seem to have like mental health issues, and I don't know, there's just a lot going on in here, and it's all heartbreaking. Hi friends, I wanted to give you an update. Obviously we're coming from my car. It's the best I could do right this very second, so bear with me. I wanted to update you on reading Jacqueline's favorite books. I did manage to finish The Sound of Gravel last night. Finally, I rated this story 5 out of 5 stars. I wouldn't say it was enjoyable, but it was very informative and it was very interesting, and I thought it was well written. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so whenever I can read a memoir that feels like fiction as far as the storytelling goes, I'm invested, and that was the case with this book. I know Jacqueline also rated this one 5 stars. She got really emotional. It was very emotional, and there were things that were happening that you had to remind yourself that this really happened to real people. So again, to remind you, this is about it's a woman telling her story growing up in a polygamist family, a polygamist not commune, because that's not what they call it, but like the Mormon church. So it has a lot to do with like polygamy, religion. So if those are sensitive topics for you, maybe don't pick this up. There's also child abuse, child neglect, unwanted touching from the stepfather to like all of the kids. And the kids actually eventually speak up and tell their mother, and the mother just says, we need to forgive him. You know, that's what God wants. He's really sorry. And he keeps doing it. So they tell her again, and she goes, no, next time I'll do something about it. And it's just this heartbreaking story of her childhood for her brothers and her sisters, and she had many. There's death of children, and it's a wild ride. There's lots of like sensitive things in here. I never cried while reading the story, but I specifically remember a certain event that happened, and I felt all of the blood drain from my face, and I was just in shock. And that was one of the moments that I was like, this actually happened. Hello, I am back, and I am reading the Roanoke Girls. I went to visit Jacqueline. I had an amazing time. I will insert some pictures from the trip. It was so relaxing and so much fun just hanging out with Jacqueline and Jenny and Jessie and all the J friends. Yeah, we had a wine tasting. We did a massive like cheese board. We played games. It was just so much fun. But now that's over, and I'm trying to, you know, return to some sense of normalcy. So what better thing than to jump back into this reading vlog. I am currently here. I am on page 116, and it's told in now and then chapters, but there's also like this insert chapter of some of the Roanoke girls, like their story, and it tells like the year that, like this one. Here's one. So you have Sophia's and her birth date and her death date and stuff like that. So all of those are kind of inserted into the story as well, because it's really about this just like really weird family. This is quite interesting. I just finished The Roanoke Girls by Amy Engel, and I'm not sure what I want to rate it. It's not a 5-star. I don't even think it's a 4-star. I think it's a 3 stars. I feel like so much of this book was like the reader was kept in the dark and things were slowly being revealed, which I get, but I feel like I needed more up front instead of the then and now and then the little pieces of the Roanoke Girls and stuff. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's a 3-star for me. So I'm gonna rate the Roanoke Girls 3 stars. I'm gonna try to process my feelings more. Really looking forward to it. But I did look at the font and it's really small. Let's compare. I have another book sitting over here that I'm gonna be reading soon. But let's do that font comparison that I love to do. You see, this is like normal. This is like excruciating. So I'm gonna see if this is available on Scribd. I really, really hope it is. I finally started The Dream Daughter, which is the final book I'm gonna read for Jacqueline's favorite books for this portion anyway. She has tons of favorite books. I just chose 3 of them to read. So yeah, I am on page 58. I finally started it. It's a little slow going in the beginning because it's explaining how one character doesn't know about the time travel, one person does, and it explains the baby situation and all of that. But I am listening to it on Scribd, and it's a pretty lengthy audiobook. I have like 11 hours and 20 minutes left. Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Okay, so Jacqueline, you're gonna be very excited what I'm reading right now. It's one of your favorite books. So some people in the book club were talking about it. I was like, now is the time. I need to read this book. I'm reading The Dream Daughter by Diana Chamberlain, and I know. I was like, oh, she's gonna be so excited that I'm reading this, because I wanted to like read it and then like tell you about it, but I was like, oh, we have to record for the podcast today. So hi friends, really great news. I finished The Dream Daughter by Diana Chamberlain, and I really, really, really liked this book. I wish I could give it a 4.5 because it feels like a 4.5 to me, but it's definitely somewhere between like a 4 and a 5. I don't think it was like a perfect book because like it definitely had slower moments, but those slower moments weren't boring. They were just world building, story building, plot building, and the rest of it, like once you get into it, it just, you just have to read what's gonna happen, because you think once you hear like the premise of the story, you think that you're just gonna like know what's gonna happen like after you get going, and you're like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, and no. So then something else happens and you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna happen, and it just keeps blowing your mind into the very, very end, and it was just crazy. The funny thing is that Jacqueline knew I was reading this book, but I don't think she knows that I'm doing it for this video. I hope she doesn't know I'm doing it for this video. Jacqueline, you'll have to let me know. Did you know I was doing this video? But like, I had a really great reading experience reading some of Jacqueline's favorite books. I'm just going to go over them very quickly again. The first one I read is The Sound of Gravel by Ruth Werner, and this is a memoir, so a nonfiction book. I rated the story 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read The Roanoke Girls, which is a book I actually had on my wish list for years. I had it from my library. Actually, both of these were library books, so I'm gonna have to return them, but this one was okay. It definitely had like ominous vibes. You could definitely tell that like something was happening, and obviously there's a disappearance or a death you don't know. You're kind of investigating along with the main character, and the family just seems like really weird, and there was always something like weird about the grandfather, but like I wish they kind of would have said some of the things that happened like earlier in the story, I think that would have been, it would have had my blood boiling a little bit more, but they almost like touched on it and then they'd zoom away from it and you're like, but did I read that, or am I misunderstanding, or something like that. But I ended up rating this one 3 out of 5 stars. And then I just finished The Dream Daughter, which I remember I talked to Jacqueline and I was like at like the 100, I think I was here, and I was like, but this has already happened, so like wait, I'm like, where does the story go from here? And she's like, oh, just you wait, what's gonna happen at the end? Because you have this woman who was, her husband dies in the Vietnam War, like back in 1970, and her brother-in-law tells her that he can send her to the future to help her baby possibly live, because there's more like medical advances and stuff like that. So she goes to 2001 and she does the experimental surgery, all of that, and then it's kind of like, okay, now we have to wait to see if her baby's going to be born, if it's going to live, and things like that. But also, like, she has to have the baby, it be a healthy baby, and then jump back to 1970 to be with her sister and her brother-in-law and her nephew and her baby. But things don't go as planned, and it's a wild ride. This is definitely a book that I wish I would have done a spoiler vlog for, because so many interesting things happen, and I don't want to spoil you in this video. But guys, this book is so good. I think I'm gonna go with 5 stars for this one too, just because it was so interesting and I couldn't really predict what was gonna happen, but I loved everything that happened and how it kept me guessing and stuff like that along the way. So 3 stars, and then 2 5 out of 5 stars. So it is possible for Jacqueline and I to like the same books, which is almost a miracle. But anyway, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't read these books, I highly recommend that you check them out. Definitely check if there's any sensitive topics, because all of these books had things that I think could be triggering to people. They were all very interesting. I'm really glad I read all 3 of them, and now Jacqueline will know that I read 3 of her favorite books and what I thought. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're all having a lovely day or night, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye!